Can TCU win a national championship under Sonny Dykes after getting so close in 2022? The Horned Frogs are hoping to return to that game in 2023. And when you look at the schedule, it's really a favorable schedule, honestly, if you look at it in the first half for sure. I think that avoiding Oklahoma State was obviously a big miss for that. And you're looking at the schedule, we start with Colorado. Obviously, that game is going to be different this year with what Deion Sanders is going to do for Colorado. And TCU struggled with Colorado early in the game last year. That could be something to keep an eye on. But honestly, I think that Colorado still has a ways to go. It would be an upset, obviously, at TCU to be able to pull that off. But TCU is working off of a good 2022 year, a great 2022 year. And I don't think that Colorado is quite up to the task of pulling out the upset, but we will see what happens there. Obviously, Nichols is going to be a win. At Houston shouldn't be too much of a challenge. I don't really know what Houston's going to look like in their first year in the Big 12. I did break down what I thought it would be, but we'll see about that. SMU is always going to be a tough game, and that one could be close. But again, not a team that is super daunting. I think a team that's talented. And the concerns for TCU come with the inconsistent play that we saw from last year. But again, the first part of this season, if you look at it on paper, shouldn't be too challenging. West Virginia, who knows what they're going to be, but they are not on the level of TCU. At least they shouldn't be. And then at Iowa State, playing at Iowa State is going to be always a challenge, but it's one that I think the Horned Frogs should be able to navigate without too many problems. BYU at home, I think BYU is going to be tough once again, so that could be tough. And then we get a rematch of the Big 12 championship game against Kansas State on the road. That is where things start in terms of the tough stretch. At Kansas State and at Texas Tech are two tough road games to have back to back. Texas and Baylor are home games that will be tough as well. Texas should be much better than they were last year. I think that they maybe could be the favorite for winning the Big 12, even with TCU returning the amount of talent that they have. And then finishing the year at Oklahoma is not exactly an ideal way to end it. But this is a team that, again, has experience winning close games. Now, whether or not they are able to do that in 2023 remains to be seen, but this is still a program that knows how to win football games, that knows how to win close football games. And Sonny Dykes has done really well to improve the excitement offensively. And the defensive talent that he is returning is going to help him quite a bit. And this is a schedule, again, the beginning, I wouldn't say that it's easy, but it's easier than the second half of the schedule. Now, obviously, the SMU game could be tough. The Colorado game could be tough, depending on what Dion is able to do, how much magic he's able to produce. And then at Iowa State is really a game that is always tough for any Big 12 team just because of that atmosphere. Then again, the second half features a number of teams that are going to be competing for a Big 12 title. That is going to be difficult as well. It's not going to be a walk in the park by any means, but I think Sonny Dykes has done a pretty good job of getting this team to a point where they expect to win, where they expect to get back to the college football playoff. Whether or not they can do that is going to be their biggest challenge. Now, when you look at what TCU returns as well as what they've added via the transfer portal, there is plenty of talent remaining and coming to campus. The defense should be just as talented as they were last year. Now, whether or not they're going to be a stout group that prevents teams from scoring, we will see. But I think this is going to be, once again, an explosive group, an opportunistic group, and that's going to help give an offense that's going through some changes, especially at quarterback, and get even a new wide receiver that is their go-to guy outside of Quentin Johnston, who is now off to the NFL. That is going to be probably their biggest challenge. But you look at the defensive side of the ball, the secondary is going to be really fun to watch. Josh Newton returns, one of the more exciting players in 2022 for the Horned Frogs, a guy that people have their eyes on and someone that's going to play, again, a big role in the offense. Excuse me, the defense. Then you look at the linebackers are going to be really fun to watch. I think that they have a good group of linebackers returning. That is something that will help this defense tremendously. And again, the front seven is probably going to need the most work. They have some exciting players returning, and that's going to help them a lot. But the secondary is going to be really the strength of this team. Then when you flip over to the offensive side of the ball, a lot of pressure is on Chandler Morris's shoulders. That is going to be something that he has to navigate throughout the entire season. And he won the starting job against Colorado at the beginning of the year. Now, an injury forced him out for the rest of the season. And Max Duggan, obviously, what he did is history. You saw a team that really thrived under Duggan. Now, what could that have been if it was Chandler Morris running the show? I don't know if we're gonna ever know that, if we can have an idea, or at least we can get a picture maybe if we see what he does this year. I think Chandler Morris has the potential to be really good. We just haven't seen enough of him, obviously, under Sonny Dykes. That is going to be something to pay attention to. I have Quentin Johnston is gone. You lose a number of key playmakers to the NFL and to graduation, but you have guys like Jordan Hudson coming back. I think Jordan Hudson, the former four-star, has potential to be really, really good. He even saw some playing time in a crowded group of pass catchers. Savion Williams returns as well. And then when you look at what they added in the transfer portal, Jack Beck from LSU, the tight end, is coming in. JoJo Earl, Jalen Robinson, and John Paul Richardson, wide receivers that can contribute. Then you look at running back Trey Sanders coming from Alabama. They added some key players at key positions. And this is an offense that has the potential to be really exciting. Once again, Sonny Dykes knows what he's doing when it comes to play calling. Sonny Dykes knows how to produce extremely explosive offenses. Now he has to work with a new offense coordinator with Garrett Riley going to Clemson, but this is still a team that should be really good. Now, whether or not this is a college football playoff team remains to be seen because of the transitions, because of the schedule. But again, this is a team that you should expect to be in contention at least early on until things get figured out. A lot of it is going to depend on what Chandler Morris is able to do. And when you look at TCU in general, again, the expectation should be getting back to where they were last year. Now, winning close games probably is going to happen at the clip that it did last year, but you're still looking at a team that expects to win football games, that expects to be a champion when it's all said and done. That I think last year was a surprise to many. So the surprise factor isn't going to help them. Kind of saw that towards the end of the year. And obviously, there is still ways to go before they are on the level of a Georgia. In the national championship game, we saw that TCU just wasn't on the same level as the Bulldogs. Now, I think things got out of hand at the end where maybe it's not as much of a blowout, but it was still pretty obvious who the better team was. So there's still some work to be done in that regard, but this is a team that I think is headed in the right direction that could take a next step because Sonny Dykes has this offense competing with what a current 2022, 2023 offense should look like. And that is good for them in the long run. It's just a matter of getting the talent on campus and finding ways to do what they did last year. Now, was last year a fluke? We're going to find out pretty quickly how legitimate this Horned Frogs team is in terms of longevity of competing for Big 12 championships and potentially competing for national championships too.